Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to getting, well, informed and maybe even a little bit enlightened. Today, we're embarking on a truly profound journey, I think. We're diving into a text that for many is like a spiritual blueprint for the future of humanity. We're talking about the Kitáb-i-Aqdas, also known as the Most Holy Book. Now, this isn't just any book. It's the central scripture of the Bahá'í Faith, penned by none other than Baha'u'lláh, the prophet founder himself. And what makes it so significant? Well, people see it as much more than just a book of laws. It's considered a spiritual charter for a whole new era, an era of human unity, justice, and peace. So our mission today really is to unpack this, extract its key teachings, its core concepts, and give you a kind of shortcut to understanding this profound text, and importantly, why it still matters today. Okay, let's jump in.
Right, so to really get the Kitáb-i-Aqdas, we need its origin story. It helps frame everything. This remarkable text was written around 1873 in Arabic, and during a really challenging time in Baha'u'llah's life.
He actually wrote it while he was exiled in Akka. That's a city in present-day Israel. I mean, imagine writing a foundational text for a global religion while basically imprisoned. It's incredible. It's sometimes called the mother book of the Bahá'í Faith. What does that title, Mother Book, really tell us about its significance?
That's a really crucial point, because Mother Book, it isn't just some poetic label. It perfectly sums up its role. What's truly fascinating is how it lives up to that name. It lays down laws, yes, for how you should live your individual life, your morals, your spiritual conduct. But, and this is key, it also lays down comprehensive principles for society, like the whole society. It acts as a foundational guide for, well, a new global order, a completely different way of thinking about how humanity could organize itself. And if we look at the bigger picture here, unlike many scriptures that often look backward, telling historical stories or reflecting on the past, the Aqdas distinctly looks forward. It speaks directly to the needs of a future global interconnected humanity. It's envisioning a future that, honestly, we're maybe only just starting to fully grasp today. That's what makes it so revolutionary for its time. It anticipates challenges and offers solutions for a world that, back then, was still centuries away from being this connected.
That forward-looking perspective is really striking. Okay, so we've got the origins. Now the core, the heart of the Kitáb-i-Aqdas, its foundational principles. Like you said, it's a blueprint for how humanity could live together, how we could thrive. Where do we even start? What's the first principle that really stands out as a cornerstone?
Well, we absolutely have to start with the unity of humanity. And this isn't just, a nice feeling about world peace. It's more fundamental.
Yeah.
It's a redefinition of who we are. Unlike philosophies that maybe try to bridge differences or just promote tolerance, the Aqdas says our primary identity, our main allegiance. It isn't to our nation or race or religion. It's to the entire human race, full stop. It boldly states that the whole earth is basically one homeland, and all people, members of just one single human family. Think about what that means for you personally. It's not just being tolerant, it's recognizing this shared single identity, which makes things like nationalism or racial prejudice, well, they become fundamentally illogical spiritually and socially. It challenges that whole us versus them mentality at its root.
Wow, yeah, that is a radical reframing. Okay, so how does that massive idea connect to our own individual spiritual path within this big human family?
Yeah.
Because the text also talks about love and obedience to God, right? How do those fit together?
Right, they're deeply connected. The Aqdas emphasizes that getting closer to God isn't just about blind faith or doing rituals.
Yeah.
It comes through prayer, yes, and obeying divine laws, certainly. But, and this is crucial, it also comes through selfless service to humanity, to that one human family. It ties the spiritual directly to the practical. It's a true worship actually includes working to make the world better. It suggests your own spiritual growth isn't just some internal thing. It's reflected and is pushed forward by what you do in the world, especially actions that foster unity and justice among people.
That's such a strong link between personal faith and, well, global responsibility. Okay, so beyond these big overarching ideals, the Kitáb-i-Aqdas also gives practical guidance. You mentioned universal laws and ethics. What are some of those ethical guideposts that really stand out, and how are they maybe different from other ethical systems we might know?
What's striking, I think, is the focus on both inner and outer change. So it includes core principles like absolute truthfulness, not just, don't lie, but living with complete integrity in everything, unwavering justice in every situation, for everyone, no exceptions. And then there's this concept of detachment from materialism. Now, this isn't saying poverty is good or you shouldn't have wealth, not at all. It's more about a profound shift in our values. It's almost a strategic principle, suggesting that chasing wealth for its own sake often fuels the very divisions and injustices the Aqdas wants to dismantle. The insight really is that true human progress might be impossible unless we collectively rethink our relationship with stuff, with material possessions, moving away from just accumulating things towards seeing wealth as a tool for everyone's betterment. It's about not being controlled by material things, but using them for something higher.
Redefining success and purpose. Got it.
So how do these ethics translate into daily life, into our spiritual routines? The Aqdas also mentions specific spiritual practices, doesn't it? Yes, it does. It outlines things like daily obligatory prayers, a specific period of fasting each year, regularly reading the holy writings, and consistently turning your heart toward God. But again, these aren't meant to be just empty rituals you go through. The Aqdas presents them as vital tools for spiritual growth, for connection. They're designed to help refine your character, strengthen that connection to the divine, which in turn empowers you to actually live out those ethical principles: truthfulness, justice, detachment in your everyday life. They give you a kind of rhythm, a discipline that supports the whole vision of unity and service.
It sounds very holistic, yeah. Inner practice supporting outer action. And this seems to extend into personal relationships too. Marriage and family life are given real importance. What's distinctive about the guidance there?
Marriage is definitely encouraged, highly encouraged. But, and this was quite progressive for the 1870s, it must be based on love and, significantly, the mutual consent of both partners. Both have to agree freely. And family unity itself is seen as the bedrock, the very foundation of social harmony. The logic is pretty clear. If individual families are strong, harmonious, based on consultation and mutual respect, then society as a whole becomes stronger and more harmonious. It puts a lot of emphasis on that consultation within the family.
That focus on mutual consent and consultation really stands out. Okay, now for something quite unique, I think, justice and leadership. The Aqdas introduces the principle of the House of Justice. Can you explain what this institution is? It sounds very different from traditional government.
Right. The Aqdas lays down the principle for this future institution, the House of Justice. Try to picture this. A globally elected body, a group of individuals chosen for their wisdom and fairness, designed to guide society not based on individual power or inherited status or political parties, but through collective consultation and the principles of justice found at the Bahá'í teachings.
Okay.
It's a completely different model for governance. The idea is it would transcend narrow national interests and partisan fighting to act for the common good of all humanity. It's built on collective leadership and the idea that the institution as a whole is guided rather than relying on single, fallible leaders. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How might a global system like that, based on such different principles and election methods, actually shift our current understanding of leadership and how countries cooperate or don't cooperate?
That's a huge thought experiment, especially given today's world. And speaking of finding the right way, the Aqdas also champions moderation and balance in everything. How does that principle work, and why is it so important to the whole picture?
It's vital because extremes are seen as destructive. Whether it's extremes of wealth or poverty or extreme behaviors or even extreme religious interpretations or fanaticism, these are viewed as things that break down unity and hinder progress. So the Aqdas strongly encourages avoiding extremes in all things. It advocates for a middle path, a kind of moderation in every aspect of life. This isn't about being boring or mediocre. It's about finding a dynamic balance, an equilibrium that fosters health, growth, and prevents the kind of social fractures we see when things get too out of whack. It's a call for conscious, proportionate living, really.
A recipe for stability, maybe? And finally, there's a principle that really hits home today: education and knowledge. What does the Aqdas say about how important that is?
Oh, it's unequivocal. It states clearly that every single individual, male and female, has both the right and the duty to be educated. Knowledge isn't just power, it's seen as light, something that illuminates the path forward for individuals and for society as a whole. And that emphasis on universal education, specifically mentioning both genders, that's truly remarkable when you remember this was written in the late 19th century, at a time when education for girls and women was, let's be honest, often severely limited or just non-existent in many places. This was a radical statement of equality, a profound recognition of the intellectual and spiritual capacity of all human beings. It really highlights the foresight in the Aqdas. It was laying groundwork for a more just, equitable world centuries ahead of his time, recognizing that you can't build that unified world that envisions with an uneducated population.
That foresight is genuinely quite astounding. But, what's also really remarkable is that the Kitáb-i-Aqdas isn't just some dry list of rules you tick off. It feels infused with the spirit of, well, compassion, love, and this huge global vision. It lifts it beyond just a legal code. Still, applying these big principles in our incredibly diverse world, that must present challenges, right? How does the Aqdas suggest we navigate those complexities while sticking to the core ideals?
That's a very real question. The Aqdas absolutely acknowledges human diversity, and the fact that applying principles isn't always simple. But it guides us by stressing the spirit of the law over just a rigid, literal interpretation, especially when it comes to social issues. Baha'u'llah's call to humanity is crystal clear. Rise above division, abandon all forms of prejudice, racial, religious, national, gender, you name it, and actively work together for peace. The core message is so powerful and, frankly, needed. Religion should unite us, not divide us, which is sadly a stark contrast to how it's often been misused historically. So the answer to complexity isn't necessarily more rules, but a deeper commitment to those underlying spiritual principles: unity, love, justice.
That's a really important distinction. And there's that one incredible passage from the Aqdas that seems to capture this entire feeling, a line I think everyone should hear. The earth is but one country, and mankind its citizens.
That line alone, if you really sit with it, captures the truly revolutionary vision of Baha'u'lláh. It imagines a world without these artificial borders of hate we put up, where diversity isn't a problem to be managed, but something celebrated, a source of richness, and where unity, that oneness, is presented as the ultimate spiritual goal for all of humankind. This isn't just, a nice sentiment or some poetic ideal floating out there. It's a profound call to action for you, for everyone listening. A call to fundamentally rethink human identity. It challenges us, really, to expand our idea of us, to include every single person on this planet, to see our shared humanity as the most important thing, making all those other distinctions, nationality, background, secondary to our collective identity as global citizens.
So, okay, bringing it all together, what does this mean for us now? Why should we, really care about the Kitáb-i-Aqdas today? A text written over a century ago, different time, different place.
We should care because it speaks directly to the challenges we're facing right now in the modern world. Just think about it. Disunity, massive inequality, injustice, conflict. These are still dominating our news feeds, right? This text, written so long ago, offers a coherent framework for actually overcoming these very problems that often feel so intractable. It's called for unity, for real justice, for everyone, for the equality of men and women, for education, for all, for global cooperation. It doesn't just feel relevant. It feels more urgent now than ever before. It kind of suggests that the solutions to our most complex modern problems aren't necessarily brand new inventions we need to find, but maybe it's about a renewed commitment to this kind of timeless wisdom.
It's a compelling case for universal truth. The Kitáb-i-Aqdas, it's clearly so much more than just scripture. It really is a profound blueprint, potentially, for building a more peaceful, more unified world. Its teachings invite you, the listener, to live with truthfulness in all you do, to dedicate yourself in some way to serving humanity, to embrace that right and duty to educate yourself and others, and maybe most importantly, to try and see beyond those narrow identities we often cling to into the oneness of humankind.
Yeah, and as you reflect on this deep dive, maybe just consider this. How might truly embracing that idea, the earth is but one country, and mankind its citizens, how might that genuinely transform your perspective? Your view on the daily news, maybe issues in your own community, perhaps even your personal choices day to day. What small steps might you take if you genuinely saw all humanity as one family? And how might that single shift ripple outwards into your world? Definitely something to ponder as you go about your day.